Okay, so huge weekend patch for all the shield enjoyers, right? Everyone who's playing with the shield saw the new buffs to shield slam, perfect block. I got a lot of comments, a lot of really excited people jumped into my YouTube comments asking me when the shield slam video in particular was coming, because people, it seems, are really interested in this often overlooked skill. So I was interested. I mean, admittedly, I have not spent a lot of time with Shield Slam, not since the last video I did back in the spring. So I was eager. I was interested to pick it back up again and see what's up. We're learning. Don't trade him, no? Shield Slam? Oh! Yes. Wow. In addition to the cooldowns being changed, the cooldowns for Perfect Block and Shield Slam being reduced, what else do we see? We see here, all shields, shield slam animations play slightly faster, so that will make it easier to use. Cool. And the other thing here, too, with the reduction of healing time, with all the buffs to heals in general for the game, has made it easier to walk away from Second Wind. Makes it easier to run with two other skills. You don't need Second Wind as much because the surge kits, the campfires, the bandages, the health pots, they're all better now. So for any fighter out there who's looking to step away from the crutch that is Second Wind, because it is a crutch, let's admit it, now is a great time. Oh. So this video is for all the YouTube commenters who wanted to see some more Shield Slam content. This is it. Lots of PvP highlights, some pros and cons, other thoughts. Here we go. The way this skill works is it gives you a shield attack animation. It gives you the ability to attack with your shield. The important thing to realize, the important thing to note about Shield Slam is that when you are doing your shield attack animation, your shield is still an active blocking surface, which means you can both attack and block at the same time. I'll wait for him. Got him. In addition to inflicting some physical damage on the target, Shield Slam will also knock back an opponent, which is interesting, and will apply a slowing effect for 2 seconds. This can be a great way to create some space to get an attacking player off of your character. It can also be a great way, a sneaky way, to slow another player down, allowing you to reposition or otherwise just have an advantage in the melee combat. Probably closer than it needed to be. I'm going to break this video into a few different parts to help stay organized, because there's a lot to talk about with this skill. First will be a quick recap of the animations, the different Shield Slam animations you can expect from the different shields. Then I'll talk about a bunch of different situations that I use Shield Slam or would consider using Shield Slam in the dungeon. Then I'll give kind of a pro and con overview list of my thoughts on the skill, and then I'll wrap up with some closing thoughts. Of course, the timestamps are below to help you navigate. Okay. Darn, I missed him. I missed him. Each of the different shields you can equip has its own unique or distinct attack pattern, and you can see some examples of those here. The Buckler shield has a kind of left uppercut attack motion. This I find is one of the most difficult ones to use, mostly because the shield itself is so small. The round shield has kind of a middle out shoving attack animation, which I find to be the most reliable and the easiest to aim and the easiest to use. Highly recommend Shield Slam with a round shield. The lantern shield attack animation kind of looks similar to the riposte animation. It kind of comes from the middle up in a small uppercut kind of motion. The heater shield has a swiping attack pattern, a swiping attack animation. It almost looks like you're opening a car door. You can actually see the Skeleton Champ has a similar Shield Slam attack animation at the end of his attack combo, or one of his attack combos. The Pavis is a big shove that starts from the bottom right and comes middle out. It's a bit sluggish, but can be a lot of fun if you're rushing in on your opponent and you're close enough. For me personally, I strongly prefer the round shield attack pattern. it seems to be the most predictable, the most reliable for me. Because it comes from the middle out, I seem to have the easiest time aiming the attack, because you do have to aim the attack. Overall, over the past few sessions, there's a bunch of observations I made about good times, good ways to consider using Shield Slam. Here's a quick summary of all the things I'm going to cover in this section. I'll go one by one. The first thing on the list here is actually related to PvE. There's been a few instances in the dungeon where I've lost track of myself, lost track of my player position, and gotten blocked in by mobs. I've had some pretty frustrating and embarrassing deaths to mobs because I've been blocked by them. So this is just a quick note, but Shield Slam can be used to push mobs out of your way, or in the event that you find yourself kind of boxed in by PvE, you can use Shield Slam to clear a bit of space, find some wiggle room, and get out of there. In terms of PvP, I found Shield Slam to be very, very useful as the kind of finishing piece of a combo attack. So I would do 1, 2 regular attacks, and then follow up with a Shield Slam as kind of a unexpected way to deal a third piece of damage in the melee combo. I'm loath to push this ranger, but maybe I should. Shield Slam. Got him. It's not always effective because the range of the Shield Slam is so short, but if you're able to follow up a combo with a Shield Slam, not only does it confuse your opponent, but it also creates more space, it slows them down, gives you the chance to reposition and continue the fight on your terms. So using it after a string of successful regular attacks seems to be one of the best ways to put Shield Slam to use. Keep showing I'm willing to swing. There we go. Shield Slam. Oh, I got him with the Shield Slam. Yeah, right. Shield Slam. The next thing on the list has been top of mind for most of the people leaving YouTube comments. I've seen a lot of comments saying that you can use a well-timed Shield Slam as actually kind of a perfect block. Because your shield's block is active during the whole Shield Slam attack animation, it means you can effectively attack into your opponent's weapon, you can attack into their attack, and your active shield will both block their attack and score a hit for you. This makes it a perfect block in the sense that you won't be staggered, you won't be interrupted. It's a chance for you to power through even the heaviest attacks coming your way. Let's see if I can get a Shield Slam on his attack. Yep, so that kind of messes with his spacing. And a little bit of spacing there to dodge. So I'll wait for it to recharge. We'll try it again. What are you doing now? Oops. See, it was 2. I shouldn't do 2. We'll wait for him. Got him. So, as a, quote, perfect block in that regard, Shield Slam can be useful. This is definitely a risk, but using Shield Slam as a perfect block is a very interesting and can be a very effective way to use the skill. Alright, Shield Slam is up again. He's hurt. I pushed him through. I hit him. Nice. So I pushed through his first attack. I could finish my swing. Another way to use it, similar to the previous point, is after you have successfully blocked, and if you are staggered, you can use Shield Slam, you can use the Shield Slam animation to override the stagger animation. Let's get staggered. Let's get staggered. And then perfect block out of it. Yep, you can. Just the range is bad. So I have to be very, very close. So you can block normally, and you can block a very high impact power weapon, like a Bardiche or like a big axe. And where you would normally be heavily staggered by that attack, you can then use Shield Slam upon being staggered to counteract that stagger, basically shake off the stagger and go right back into an attack. That can be another really great way to launch a surprise attack of sorts and otherwise catch your opponent off guard. Hit him. He hit the ground. He doesn't know what to do. Oof. Oh, that was pretty good rundown. GG, man. I also found that opening combat with Shield Slam wasn't always the most effective, but there was some positive side effects. Mistake. That was a mistake. I don't like it because it kind of reveals the fact that you have this skill, and Shield Slam, in my opinion, is a skill that is almost best saved for the surprise attacks, but in the event that you do open combat with it, it can be advantageous because sometimes it will stun lock your opponent a little bit. They don't know what the heck they were just hit by. A lot of people in the game don't know what Shield Slam is, have never encountered it before.
You do that. What even is that? I didn't even know you could hit with your shield.
It's called Shield Slam. So there's definitely an element of surprise, and if you use it early on in the fight, it can be a way to gain an extra beat. And then in addition to them being surprised IRL, they're also slowed in the game. The Shield Slam attack does apply a slow effect, and that can give you a chance to maneuver differently, to close the gap, to change your position in the melee in a way that is more advantageous for you. But again, just make sure that you're close enough for that first Shield Slam attack because the range is really not very good. Got them all behind him. Darn, I traded. Ah, I traded. Don't trade him. I missed him. Damn. I thought I looked up enough too. Good fake out. I also noticed that Shield Slam can be very effective versus rogues because rogues want to be so up close and personal. Basically, rogues want to be as close as possible because their daggers have such short range. And that is perfect for the short range of Shield Slam. So if the rogue is up on you and you want to clear them away, you want to do some damage, if you want to get a break from the rogue attack, from the rogue onslaught, Shield Slam, especially with the heater, I find the heater is a bit easier to use because it is more of a swiping attack, is particularly very good at clearing off a rogue, pushing them away, and give you the space and time you need to heal up a little bit. Okay, so those recommendations were a regular or kind of easier to execute use of Shield Slam. The next things I'll talk about are a little more niche-y, a little more advanced, might not be the most practical, but still deserve an honorable mention. You can use Shield Slam in combination with the Lantern Shield, and specifically the Lantern Shield's kind of riposte combo. The combo I was playing with was you have the Lantern Shield, you block, you shield riposte, you weapon attack, you shield riposte again, and then you can follow up with a Shield Slam. So it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4 combo, which is a lot to keep in mind. It's really not easy to execute. It's a lot of clicking. It's a lot of pretty sensitive timing. And trying to do that while also trying to line up your attack and actually hit an opponent who's moving around organically in your space can be very difficult, but it is an honorable mention. You can layer in a Shield Slam at the end of an extended or advanced Lantern Shield riposte combo set to get 4 attacks or maybe even 5 attacks. So keep that in mind. Of course, you can use Shield Slam with the Pavis. And the reason I'm saying this is kind of in a more niched application is because the Pavis is a niche weapon as it stands. Not a lot of people run the Pavis. There is very, in my opinion, limited utility to it, but certainly combining Shield Slam with the Pavis does give the Pavis a little more versatility. The Pavis might not be a bad strategy for closing longer distances, for closing wider gaps, and so that could be extra useful when you're using that shield to push in on different classes. The last thing I'll mention here for the more niche applications of Shield Slam is because there is a bit of knockback, because the weapon does have the ability to knock other opponents backwards in space. That means that you can play around traps. It means you can play around the edge of the map, and if you are clever, if you've got good timing, if you're a bit lucky, to be honest, you can knock a player backwards into a trap, or even knock a player backwards off the map into the abyss, which can be hilarious. I have not gotten a clip on this, but certainly the opportunity is there, right? If you get a player who's close to the edge of the map, is close to a trap, is close to a place maybe they don't want to fall backwards into, maybe there's mobs down there or something, Shield Slam can be a great unexpected way to push them backwards into space and then have them deal with whatever situation you're putting them into. If you try this, good luck. If you manage to knock someone off the map, please share a clip. I would love to see it. It'd be hilarious. So let's run down a quick list of pros and cons for Shield Slam. On the pro side, there are definitely a few things. Number one, it is definitely an unexpected skill. Not a lot of players expect to be hit with your shield, nor do they expect the knockback or slowing effects that it puts on them. So keeping this in your back pocket and using it in a key moment of a melee combat can be a real advantage. Number two is that it negates stagger. It can be used in combination with a shield with a lower blocking power, or versus a weapon with a high impact power, to overcome the stagger animation and counterattack quickly. This of course combines with the fact that it's an unexpected kind of counterattack that your opponent may not see coming. It also expands the fighter's melee combat arsenal. Because Shield Slam is an often overlooked skill, having it in your loadout gives you another way to attack your enemy, and in a game like this, where there aren't that many ways to attack, having some extra versatility is never a bad thing. It's also really fun. I'm not going to lie, it might not be the most practical in all situations, but it certainly is a lot of fun. It's fun to bump your opponent around. It's fun to surprise people. It's fun to see how they react when they realize that you're running something that they don't recognize. It's fun to be good at using a skill that is actually hard to execute, right? It's fun to challenge yourself. It's fun to use off-meta stuff. It's fun to have success, or not. It's fun to play around with a part of the game that isn't so commonly used. On the con side, unfortunately, I feel like the cons do outweigh the pros. There are more negatives to Shield Slam than there are positives, in my opinion. The first is the range is just so desperately short. It's a very, very shallow range. You have to be skin to skin with your opponent, and oftentimes I don't always want to be that close. I want to play with range a little bit, especially if I'm using something like a Morningstar that has a fairly generous range. The Shield Slam, I have to close an extra tight gap, and that is a challenge sometimes. I don't always want to be super close, and sometimes if I try to use Shield Slam and I'm not as close as possible, I miss. And missing the attack can leave you pretty vulnerable. It also shows your opponent that you're running the skill, so the element of surprise can be lost. Also, using Shield Slam successfully can actually create a gap of space. And that's not always what I'm looking for in a melee combat. Sometimes I work to close the gap on somebody, and then if I use Shield Slam, it just creates another gap. Or it can sometimes create a space that I don't want to have there. So I'm not sure what I'm looking for here. I'm not sure like what the answer is. Sometimes creating space is good if you're trying to get a rogue off of you, but other times creating space is bad because there's so much movement speed and so many players are so keen to run or turn and create space that by using Shield Slam and giving them extra space, that's just an extra thing for me to get over to get back into melee range. So the fact that Shield Slam creates more space isn't always what I'm looking for, and that's a con from my perspective. Depending on the shield that you are using and the attack pattern that you get based on the shield you're using, it can be hard to aim. It can be hard to use Shield Slam and actually put that defensive hitbox in the path of your opponent weapon, or to actually land the attack the way you want to. I missed. It is a risk. Particularly with the buckler. The buckler is very small. It can be very hard to aim the shield. It can be very hard to land the hit in the heat of battle when your opponent is running all around. So that's another thing to keep in mind. It is a con that the ability is hard to aim, hard to land hits sometimes. It's also single use only, which compared to other abilities like Adrenaline Spike, like Sprint, like Perfect Block, that offer you more of a sustained benefit, Shield Slam is one and done. If you hit it, fine. If you miss it, you're in trouble. Other abilities, other skills that are more sustained focus, that are more kind of active duration focused, I feel like there's a little more utility with those skills compared to the one and done Perfect Block.
Got him. Oh.
Nice try, dudes. Nice try. Right, of course, the other thing here is that the Shield Slam attack animation itself can be blocked by other shields, can be parried by the longsword. Very dangerous. So, because you are most likely going to be using Shield Slam against other melee, right? Chances are you're not using Shield Slam that actively against a ranger, against a wizard. It's going to be against the heavier melee, against barbarians, against clerics, fighters, longswords. Chances are those classes are also going to be using shields, are also going to be using longswords or other weapons that can block your attack. So you do the work to close the gap, you're in melee, you do the Shield Slam, and they block it. Or they parry it, and now you're in trouble. So because it is just an attack after all, I mean, it would be totally broken if you couldn't block Shield Slam. That would be a broken thing, so it makes sense that you can block it. But the fact that it can be blocked, it can be stopped, is just another kind of headwind to the viability of the skill overall. It also offers no mobility, which is a challenge I find in a lot of situations. Sure, there is a slowing effect on hit, but you actually have to close the gap and get in your opponent's face. You have to get skin to skin to your opponent to even use it in the first place. And that can be a challenge with so much mobility in the meta right now. It is very difficult for me to want to choose something like Shield Slam over Sprint. If I'm going to run Sprint and Shield Slam together, then Shield Slam has to be better than anything else I would take to pair with Sprint, right? Is Shield Slam better than an Adrenaline Spike? Is it better than Second Wind? Is it better than Perfect Block? I don't think so. Shield Slam offers no mobility increase. Very difficult for me to choose it over Sprint. Shield Slam doesn't offer the same utility as other skills available to fighter. So that's a con. And lastly, this is probably the biggest con on the list, and that is that I don't think it's that suitable for high roller, for high skill environments. It's fun if you are playing in the 124 lobby, if you're just looking to like play around with the skill, if you're looking to practice blocking, get better at blocking, play against other gear capped opponents, totally fine. It's totally fun. It's a really fun way to play. But the second you take one step into the higher gear score lobbies, 125 plus, uncapped normals, or high roller, there is very little margin for error, particularly as we get late wipe. The gear is just so powerful out there that you can't afford really to make any mistakes in combat. And because Shield Slam has so many mistakes you could make with it, you're out of range, it gets blocked, it gets parried, you didn't use it correctly, you miss, you have no mobility with it. There's a lot of ways to use Shield Slam incorrectly, there's a lot of ways it can go wrong. And because of that, you can be punished very severely in the uncapped lobbies. So because of that, because there is no margin for error, I don't think Shield Slam is appropriate for the uncapped gear score lobbies right now. It's a flange mace, so I have a chance. Not if I trade. Darn, darn, darn. It's an example where I don't feel comfortable pushing into that sort of thing. Because look at this guy. He's very patient. So, perfect block there, I win this fight. Right? Or I'm way, way, way more confident. Shield Slam, it's a meme. Right? Like I'm waiting for, what, one time where I get to push back against his attack? It's not, it just can't compare. Look at this stuff. Look at this. So, that's enough proof for me. I've run the experiment in mid-roller all night. It's fun, it's interesting. But if you want to have any shot at uncapped, Perfect Block is just better almost in every way. So that's it. Pros versus cons. I feel like the cons outweigh the pros. I feel like I'm not inclined to choose Shield Slam in the uncapped lobbies. I feel like it's a lot of fun to mess around with if you're looking just to practice blocking, enjoy the game, enjoy a part of the game that maybe you don't explore that often. And to surprise opponents and see the look on their face or hear their reaction over VoIP. That's a lot of fun. One of the last things I'll say here before we get into some more of the PvP highlights is Shield Slam as part of a loadout really is just a piece of your arsenal. It should not be the thing that you build your combat strategy around. I kind of learned this the hard way, trying to overuse Shield Slam in a lot of my experiments, but certainly combining it with other good shield play in general. And so the next few clips I'm going to show are me running with Shield Slam, but also not using it. It's just kind of an example of good shield play in combat to show that a lot of combat is still won or lost by your ability to use a shield, to block attacks, to have situational and combat awareness versus your opponents, and versus different kinds of opponents. So here we go. Bonk. Got him. GG, man. 2 blue windless crossbows. Didn't do much good, unfortunately. Another ranger. Huh! Oof. Nice shot. Missed it. Wait for my thing to come back. 1 second. Mage's on him. Got him. Got him. Classic. Didn't use my shield slam really there. GG, man. Nice try. He's slowed. Huh. Oh. My guy did not. That was a slow ass rat. Huh. I tried.
Hello?
Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, it's pretty good. Just trying to win a fight against a longsword fighter with no heals.
Oh, that's tough, man.
Yeah, it's not going so good. Oh, thank you. What do I call you, sir?
Oh, my name is Blinn.
Oh, hey, I watch your videos.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you, man. How about I escort you back to the longsword fighter, and if you are victorious, then we can fight.
Oh,
How does that?
he's on the other side of the store.
Okay, cool.
Wish me luck.
Good luck, man. Very dangerous. Oops! He spaced me very well. He spaced me very well. All the advantages are mine. There. Couldn't get him. Grim smiles. That would have been tasty.
There are me, there are me.
Okay, come on in the room here. Come on in the room. In the room.
I was cut off.
What? Why is this on me? Wow. I hate Panthers so much.
I got him. See you later, dude.
So I watched the death cam and I died to 2 swings of the Panther swipe. And then I
Yeah.
come back in here and I just see Blinn with 3 dead bodies. I'm like, oh dang, okay.
If you made it this far in the video, thanks so much. You must really be into blocking. You must really be into all things shields if you are still here after all of that. I appreciate you. I see you. Leave a comment, say hi. Even if you are just shield curious and you've watched this far, I appreciate you too. You should come check out the live stream we do every Monday afternoon starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. The board meeting is a shield-focused, blocking-focused live stream. It's a lot of fun. It's really casual. We don't take things too seriously. It's just an excuse to hang out, pass the time. I hope to see you there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. What's going on? You want to invite people to the board meeting? Hey, Burgess? You want to invite people to the board meeting? You want to say thanks for watching? Do you want to say thanks for watching? Oh, no. No, no. Can you say thanks for watching? Burgess.